things been going for you? How's your
Nice and good. I so I have insight. I think it's always good. I think to be on the other side because I know we talk about a lot of the podcast about you know prescribing stuff and suggesting stuff and how people are often resistant to change and stuff. So going for a orthopedist appointment and being on the other side of it, I realize I'm not the ideal patient either. That you yeah, on three separate occasions, I looked at the physician's assistant and I was like, "I'm so sorry. I know I'm being an asshole."
yeah.
But like, I was like, "Hey, like this is exactly what I was planning on hearing because I was expecting to go in and it'd be like an LUCL, like small tear, and take a month off from stuff and then it'd be fine." But they're thinking that I completely tore my triceps tendon because the X-ray showed a piece of bone, which was indicative of it snapping off with such force that I popped part of the bone off. So MRI in 2 days to
Mm.
probably confirm that. So yeah, when they were like, "Hey, we need to put immobilize you in a brace," and I was like, "Do we have to do the splint?" Because I've managed like any other surgery, I've managed to talk the surgeon out of like any cast or anything. I was like, I just won't do anything with it because I was like, hey, my life doesn't stop. Like I wouldn't be doing this right now because I couldn't function with the mouse. So like,
Right.
got the splint that I can take on and off. I've just got it bandaged right now. So I'm really looking forward to post surgery, where I will be immobilized probably for like at least a month without able to do anything if it's as bad as they think it is. Because the
Yeah. That's
doctor was not
terrible.
very optimistic. Because I was like, so partial tear.
Did you
He was
see
like,
a sports ortho?
yeah, and they're going to refer to me like to a elbow specialist.
That's good. At least so I realize you're in the greater Atlanta market, which is beneficial for you. Here, if I wanted to see a sports ortho or sports PT, there's only like a couple that are available to us here. It's not like it is when I lived in Atlanta. I had an issue with my ankle and I asked to see a sports ortho and I got a long list of sports orthopedists that were able to do things specific to fixing ankles. Whereas I know my brother-in-law went to go see somebody and it was like there are two people you can see.
I always love seeing like individuals that are deal with sports because they're less judgy too. Like
Yeah,
you go see like so it's it's like, hey, I tore my triceps doing a dive from inside of wrestling into the outside. General population is typically like, well, don't do that and you'll be fine. But like somebody's sports minded understands like, yeah, we're gonna get you back to being able to do stupid stuff like that again. It's okay.
yeah. When I messed up my back in Indiana, I saw somebody that I had to see for my back problem, and they just said, "Don't do Romanian deadlifts." And then the next person I went and saw after that said, "We need to work on some other things before you go back to Romanian deadlifts, but we're not ruling them out ever because this can be fixed." But that's because I went back and I revisited the list and then did more work. It's kind of like we talked about it a couple episodes ago. We were like, where do you get your um, research from it versus influencers when we were talking about that, where I actually did the work and I looked at people's backgrounds and where they were at, who they'd worked with, and all those things, and I was able to find somebody that uh, wouldn't judge me for doing a Romanian deadlift. So, like, yeah, you should never do that. I'm like, I completely disagree with you. And there's plenty of people that are physical therapists that would, I know, suggest that you do them to help with your posterior chain, which kind of goes into what we're talking about today. So, on a previous episode, we talked about how to calculate all of your calories. How to, you would go through that and figure that out. But if you were on your own and you're out there in the world, and for some reason you don't think that franchise nutrition and fitness can help you out with your fitness, or maybe you're one of those people that you really want to try on your own, you really want to do it by yourself one time, uh, and you want to figure out where to get started. how would you start to design a program if, let's say, your goal is to be quote unquote lean?
Ooh, that's a good question. So like saying that so what's my knowledge base here? If you're saying like I'm not wanting somebody else like to do it for me.
Let's say you are average American, which would be at this point in time, your BMI would be somewhere in the 30s. You haven't worked out for a long period of time outside of a possible team sport when you were in uh, middle school or high school, possibly, and you have very limited experience. The most likely place where you're going to go to a gym is probably somewhere that sells memberships for $10 and serves pizza.
That's purple and gold. Gotcha.
Average American.
So what that average American would do versus what I would do if I were that average American.
Right,
Typically,
yeah.
typically I find that individuals like that, and I don't blame people for this. It sounds judgy with the way I say it, but I'm saying that jokingly and facetiously. But like people are so we've talked about this before, so inundated with information online that you can pull up like how do I get lean? And so like some of the stuff that will predominantly come up is like keto that we've talked about, or like hard 75, or P90X, or like so whatever. So you're talking about somebody who hasn't really done a whole lot in years. So you're like, okay, this is the first thing that came up via Google. It seems like this person knows what they're talking about. Because again, going back to our research and check your sources. So like this individual is probably going to go, oh well, hard 75 sounds like a good idea. Where I'm going to work out twice a day and have to at least 45-minute workouts 2 times a day and follow a strict diet plan and this and that. And how it should be done. For me, like I always preach, are sustainable habits. What's going to fit into your lifestyle? If it's somebody that's sitting on the couch right now that's not working out at all, move, do something.
Right.
Like if you're not doing anything, go walk for 10 minutes. Boom, and then we can eventually do a little bit more. Walk for 11 the next day. Walk for 12 the next day. Strength training is vitally important on a weight loss program, so we can start integrating that body weight squats and wall push-ups and things like that. So that's the general overview of an answer. For somebody like that, again, it's get moving, and then tracking calories, and that's what nobody ever wants to hear. I work with so many people. They're like, hey, my weight loss is stalled out. I don't know why. I'm like, hey, would you consider maybe tracking 2 weekdays and 1 weekend day? I don't want to track. Okay, then we can just continue to guess of why you're not losing weight. Or we can actually turn this into a mathematical equation and then we can figure out, oh, let's eat a little bit less, let's move a little bit more. Nobody ever wants to hear that because it's got to be easier than that, but it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the basic overview. And I know we'll dig deeper into it in a second, but do something. Something's better than nothing. That's kind of my mantra for anybody in that situation.
Yeah. I would look at the week. And so this is on the same lines as what Matt is saying there. And across the week, just any day of the week, your normal, typical week. This isn't like some special week like you're going on vacation or some other week where you have days off because of a holiday. Regular, typical week, Saturday through Sunday, Monday through Sunday, whatever or way you want to like structure your week. Doesn't matter. Typical week. Find one day that you can do something that's exercise related to get started. And on whatever week it is, you're going to do something that one day, whatever it is. It doesn't matter what activity it is. Do something. So what Matt's saying, just get to moving and try to go for at least 15 minutes. Right. So, and then you also need to have the anti goal, which is I'm not going to let things get in my way for this 15 minutes that I'm dedicating to exercise.
And anticipate those obstacles beforehand, because it's very easy to just go, hey, I'm going to exercise for 15 minutes and not think, oh, my kids are going to get in the way. Oh, there's work calls that are going
Right.
to come up. Oh, like there's going to be this meeting that got thrust upon me. Like
Hmm.
scheduling it, I think, is key. I have always suggest that to people, because especially if somebody schedules everything else, why not schedule that 15 minutes for exercise? Like block it off in your calendar. You're in a meeting. Like leave me alone. I'm exercising for
Right.
15 minutes.
Yeah. And if you have people like might suggest like family, kids, whatever, let them know on this day at this time, I'm going to do this thing. Like, don't just leave it in your head. Let somebody else know. So somebody that also creates an accountability partner for you that's going to know, hey, you told me you're going to work out for 15 minutes at this day at this time. Um, week 2. So this is where it gets a little bit more complicated. You need to add more time or another day. One of the two. It could be another day where you just do another 15 minutes of something. And what I would suggest is go back to listen to one of our previous episodes where we talked about what's the shortest workout that you can do that still counts, or if you only had 30 minutes to work out, and pick one of those strength training activities as that second day. And the first day is going to be your uh, cardiovascular work. If it's just extended time, split the time in half. Half of it needs to be strength based, the other half of it needs to be cardiovascular based. So you start building your physical base where you are physically capable of doing increased workload. Because that's where, as you start moving forward with that, that's where you're going to start building more muscle mass. And we're also going to start burning more calories. So increasing your capacity to do work increases your body's burn of calories overall. So if you're trying to get lean, you have to find a way to burn additional calories, whether it's through more work or a caloric deficit, where you're really going to get the biggest bang for your buck if you're able to do both. But if you can't do both from the beginning, you got to do something that increases your work capacity, because just cutting calories at the beginning is probably not going to help you towards your whatever lean goal is.
Right.
Um,
And like even let's say that does work. Let's say you do this drastic caloric deficit. I find with so many people, the issue is that they're just obsessed with the weight loss, not the fact that it's coming from fat. And so if you're burning through muscle because you're not doing any sort of exercise to maintain that muscle, like that's not good. You want to
yeah,
maintain your muscle mass. Because
I see.
if you're on in a caloric deficit and you're not doing any exercise, on average, 75% of that weight is coming from fat loss. That means the other 25% is coming from somewhere else, and I don't want to lose it from my muscle mass.
Right. Yeah. And at the same time, the muscle mass that you're losing, this is where I feel like a lot of people don't get it, is that it's not just skeletal muscle. So when you think about the our previous Keep It Simple Stupid series, where we have all of the muscles that we go through those muscle groups, that would be like more skeletal muscle. But we're talking about the muscle mass that you lose comes from all the muscle in your body, including organ tissue. So you don't want to lose the muscle mass from like your vital organs. Uh, that ends up being the a thing that I often find when people are attempting to build their own programs with getting lean is what we've previously touched on before, is that usually a too much too soon, where they're jumping into some program they found online that's 6 or 7 days a week. Maybe it's 5 days a week, but you're in the gym for 2 hours at a time and you haven't been doing anything for a really long period of time. Or it's simply just changing their diet and doing no additional activity. Like it's both. It's nutrition and fitness. There's somewhere in there where you're gonna have to do both. But if you're just building your exercise program, you want to get started on something. Strength training, as we've said endlessly on this podcast, is a vital component to you getting lean, because you have to build the muscle. Otherwise, when you are finally cut fat, it's not going to show up. Like you're not going to see any definition. It doesn't actually, the typical social media, internet, whatever, lean look, aesthetic pleasing is got a base of muscle on it. It's not just somebody that's just super skinny. um, and if I, let's say you are, um, you've moved to the point where you're doing 3 days a week and it's 30 minutes to an hour of dedicated exercise time, and you're still looking to build something lean, I would still say that you want it at least half and half, half
Yeah.
strength training, half cardiovascular work.
I think
Whether that in
people are always so tempted when adding more, I think, to like do more cardio. It's like, all right, I can strength train once a week and then I'm gonna do cardio 5 days a week. No, it's not just the calories burned during that one little bout of exercise. Like, yeah, get the strength training. Half and half's perfect.
Yeah, and also the other, I feel like the other direction is also still a problem that people do where they just stick to the strength training stuff. Like you can use cardiovascular work that is strength based, but you have to do cardiovascular work. It's going to help with your strength training. Like you can't just do all 3 days that I just mentioned that are 35 to 45 minutes, nothing but strength exercise and expect to start cutting calorie, like burning additional calories. Like your body, strength training versus cardiovascular work, you definitely burn more calories doing the cardiovascular work than you do the strength training, but it's a pretty even pendulum. You can't let it swing too far one direction on either side of things. That's not going to build the physique that you want. Um, I have plenty of clients before that let it go too far in one direction. And that's part of where they've come to us before is that they've tried so many different things. And like, why isn't it working? I don't seem to be building the muscle. I'm doing all this hard work. I don't seem to be losing fat. I'm doing all this hard work. And you just need some guidance.
Yeah. Just a few parameters here and there, like a little bit of accountability and a little bit of education and background to help get you where you need to go.
Yeah. And it's over the long term. You know, you're not going to get to a incredibly lean physique in a couple of weeks. It's going to take a couple of months.
At least.
Yeah. Just it takes a couple of weeks to start seeing some minor changes, and usually those minor changes for even like the newbie gains we talked about that before uh, aren't going to be the what you want as the end result. You know, like you're sure you'll be stronger, sure you'll start seeing a little bit of definition, but most people's end goals in their mind are something that is a should be further down the road than a couple of weeks. Like you're going to need to put a good amount of work in to get there. And that's what we do at Franchise Nutrition Fitness. We help you along that path to building whatever your goals are for whether it be strength, fitness, physique, whatever kind of look that you're going for. We help mitigate all the pieces along the way so that way we can make sure that you're always pointed towards that goal and to provide the support and accountability to help you continue working towards that goal across that time. But so in all, if I was average American that we talked about at the beginning, I would work to where I want to be working out minimally 2 days a week. Minimally. If I was doing absolutely the minimum amount of work, I want to at least be doing 2 days a week. And one day would be a total body strength training workout. And the other day would be cardiovascular work. And then build from there.
Build that foundation on each side and go from there.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I can't really I feel like that kind of covers all of it. I know it's not necessarily a big thing for our channel where people have not heard what we're talking about before, but I feel like a lot of people at this time of year are thinking, I did a lot of work before and I haven't seen any big changes. Because when this episode comes out, it's going to be June or July, and you've gone through the summer and you did all your work for your New Year's resolution and it didn't
Yeah,
go
you
as
got
planned.
you try to get lean for that beach season, said to hell with it, and now it's like, all right, I'm not thinking about it again until next late December. So yeah, so go ahead and get the head start on it now, and Again, I can't say this enough. It's sustainable habits, like you said. Like you can start out 1 day a week, then you can move it to 2 days a week. But if you're saying, "Hey, I'm going to start out every day for 2 hours," you're gonna flame out quick because that's not a fun way to start.
Yeah. But if you need help, if you have already done all of this and you're at this point where you just don't know what to do next, reach out to us, franchisenf.com. Sign up for your free meet and greet, get started today. Or you can send us a message on the contact us at the bottom of the page, and we're happy to get back to you. Either way, like we say every week, maximize every bite.
Maximize every rep.